Welcome to the Business Kitchen Show, where every week we'll be cooking up some fun recipes to help you succeed in business. Our guests will be sharing time-tested and delicious business recipes, as well as some new cutting-edge ones. Every recipe has a story, and every chef adds their own unique flavor to the dish. Just like each business strategy has its own story, and owners work hard to make their mark. Here at the Business Kitchen, you can be sure to find your own recipe for success.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to today's episode of Business Kitchen Show. I am Natalia Levy and I'm your host. I want to send some healing vibes to my co-host Tatiana. She's a little bit under the weather today, so we're going to send her massive amounts of good, happy, healing energy. So here at the Business Kitchen Show, we encourage you to look for the solutions outside of the traditional recipe box. We have amazing guests, and I am thrilled to invite the guests that we have for today. And I want to make sure to remind you to pay attention all the way to the end of the episode, because each episode that we have is absolutely filled with so much value. And before we bring on my guest, or before we dive into the content of today's show, I want to thank our sponsor for today, and it is Fast Ship Face Mask. If you need a mask, use Fast Ship Face Mask. They have tons of summer styles with prices starting at just $6.99, and they ship within one business day out of Florida. And they have, we did check out their references, and they have a lot of happy, satisfied customers. So if you or your business needs a face mask, go to fastshipfacemask.com. So I am thrilled today on this show to invite my guest. Her name is Jessica Rivelli, and she is the founder of Working Women of Tampa Bay. Let's see if we can get her on. Hi, Jessica.
Hey there, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you. So let me read through your very, very impressive introduction. So I want you all to give a warm welcome to Jessica Rivelli. Jessica is the founder of Working Women of Tampa Bay and Working Women Foundation. So she launched Working Women of Tampa Bay in 2009 to help women entrepreneurs pursue their dreams of owning their own business. Jessica followed the path of entrepreneurship when she left her 10-year career as a local television news producer to run Working Women full-time. The organization has seen rapid success over the years, boasting 750 plus. How many are there now, Jessica?
They do. It does keep growing. That's right.
Yes, and with nearly 20 events per month, Working Women is in its 11th year. So happy 10th anniversary.
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
and you have had more than 10,000 attendees of all the events. So we know that Jessica produces an annual conference, and you bring in the most amazing speakers. And I've had the privilege of attending a couple of conferences that you have put together. And also in 2016, you started a nonprofit, the Working Women Foundation, to provide small seed funding investments to help get female-owned businesses off the ground. And over the past 4 years, the organization has awarded more than $35,000 in seed money to more than 40 Tampa Bay women startups. The foundation also provides mentoring and resources to female entrepreneurs. Jessica, welcome to the show. And just wow. And in honor of you, I'm wearing pink, by the way.
Oh, I love it. And that's a beautiful pink. I love that. That's a gorgeous pink. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Oh, it is such a pleasure. Thank you. How did you, first of all, I have so many questions. Why pink? I'll start there.
Why pink? That's a good question. I think, everything around our branding is about embracing our femininity in business. So we're unabashingly pink. And not only do we have pink as our color, but we have a flower as our logo. And I think when I was creating the organization and the brand now 11 plus years ago, my inspiration was wanting to infuse femininity into business. So when I was first starting networking, as I was transitioning out of my career in television, a lot of the networking that I experienced, felt very masculine, and it felt very transactional as well. And so when I think of women, I think of those deeper connections and that nurturing that women tend to have. And I wanted to apply that to the networking world, the business world. And so we embarked on a journey and a brand that, doesn't shy away from embracing our feminine side, because we believe that women business owners, that is an asset to them, is that they have all of these amazing feminine qualities, and that those are maybe sometimes different from a man when he runs a business, but it's different, and it can be better, and it can be just something that you need to embrace instead of hide from, which I feel like maybe we saw in like the 70s and the 80s was a lot of women trying to kind of like evolve or adapt into what was considered a man's business world. And so, now that we are in this century, you see so many amazing women start businesses, right? And they're embracing business the way they want to do business. And so I think that was what the pink and the flower and a lot of our feminine branding was about 11 plus years ago when I first started.
And it's incredible because it certainly has attracted a lot of women, a lot of members to your organization. And I know being in the culinary world with restaurants, I can also relate that it's very challenging to bring especially for me being in the restaurant industry, to bring my feminine side to things, even though I have, being a part of the organization, and I have been really encouraged and learning to embrace that feminine side, whether it's through the way that I personally approach business, through the nurturing side and coming in also, and kind of being like that, the mom, almost the mother figure.
Well, but it's about authenticity, right? The ability to be yourself. And that's what we're really trying to encourage. And the mission behind our organization is that we want women to tap into their power of what makes them strong and what makes them gifted in whatever business that they've chosen, or maybe whatever line of work. And I think that the best way to do that is to embrace authenticity. And for many, that's going to be, showing off more feminine qualities. And so, I think that that's what makes you a great business owner, right? When you can tap in to your authentic self, and like everything kind of flows from that point. So I definitely think, Natalia, you're hitting a home run on that one.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. And I feel, so do you think that, what do you feel that attracts women to Working Women of Tampa Bay? Because I know you've done incredible stuff, and I've known you for many years, and I've been to a lot of networking events, and I met some really interesting people. But what do you feel, as far as specifically for you, but also when we talk in general about networking groups and networking events, what do you feel, how can they create something so unique that would attract people to them? I know you've done an amazing job, so we want to learn from you.
Well, thank you for that kind feedback. I think it goes back to that talk about authenticity. I think everyone, not just women, but both genders, are really looking for things that are authentic and genuine. I think we went through a little bit of almost like a revolution back in the beginning of Twitter, Facebook, and other social mediums, that you wanted a little bit more of an authentic view into a business or a business owner. I mean, you saw all sorts of large business CEOs. I mean, I think of like Elon Musk and, Gary Vee and all these guys and girls too, that are, jumping on Twitter, and they're they're showing off who they are personally. And I think
For sure.
prior to
Mm-hmm.
social media, there wasn't, number one, that platform, but also there wasn't really that permission to kind of show off who you were personally as a CEO or a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think working women attracts those kind of women that are looking to be themselves and operate their business, and they want to connect with other women that are kind
Mm-hmm.
of walking that walk and talking that talk. The other thing I think that really why we've grown so fast and we've been able to maintain our membership levels for 11 plus years is I think that it's about affordability and accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, the ability as a brand new business owner to become a member of an organization and to have the funds and the time to be able to attend on a regular basis, I think is really important. So when I set off starting the organization, I looked at, calendar, what day parts, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that it wasn't just lunches or just happy hours. So we have coffees, we have afternoon events now. And then also the accessibility of around Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is becoming a
Huge.
hot spot, right, for business. And with that
Mm-hmm.
hot spot comes traffic. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you're not necessarily going to drive across town for an hour to get to a meeting. And so we
Mm-hmm.
made sure that we put events all over the Tampa Bay area. So affordability, accessibility in both day, time, and also in location. And then I think that just this genuine, way that we want to connect with one another on a deeper level. And then it's a little bit more than just passing business cards. It's about connections, collaborations. And I think that's why we've been able to sustain. And I think if you're out there in the networking world, I bet you too are looking for that as something more than just the superficial pass of a business card. I think we're kind of all over that at this point. We're looking for something more,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I love the fact that you have made it extremely affordable and extremely accessible, and especially now, in the last several months, especially since March, I know you guys have completely pivoted to doing all the events online. How did it feel for you? I'm sure that was it stressful, because here you probably had the traditionally when you organize events in person, you probably have some people in person that sort of organize locally, right? That are responsible for local
Right.
organization of the events. And now it sort of all of it probably fell back right on your shoulders to pivot everything online. Can you share a little bit about that? How did it all go?
Yeah. Yeah, we had to pivot pretty quickly.
Mhm.
We did our very last large scale event on for International Women's Day, which was I think three or four hundred
Much of,
women.
yeah.
So we
Uh-huh,
did
yeah.
have a nice, what was, our, we'll call it our spring finale
Mm-hmm.
before we had to pivot. But we did have to pivot pretty quickly. We had, I want to say, an entire calendar of April that had to kind of be tossed out the window, and we had to go back to the drawing board. I think
Mm-hmm.
what made us be able to pivot as quickly as we did was that we have such an amazing organization of women that kind of pitched in and offered to teach uh, classes, Zoom
Mm-hmm.
workshops, and that's really what we did. Was we, my thought was if I was sitting at home and I was a women-owned business or I was a working woman, and suddenly I maybe have a little bit more time on my hands and I can't leave the
Mm-hmm.
house, what would I want? And I would want the ability to continue my professional development despite the fact that maybe I wasn't leaving as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So what we
Yeah.
did was not only did we just completely pivot our calendar from in person to online or virtual,
Mm-hmm.
but we then jam packed it. So we did, I want to say, within the first 3 months, so maybe March, April, May, we did more than 50 classes via Zoom.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, and they were very successful. And I think it was successful because there's so many amazing women out there who wanted to learn. And then we were really lucky to have a roster of talented women who could teach those women. So it was
Sure.
really, kind of that full circle. It's so nice to know that there's this, really symbiotic relationship within working women that, the women
Mm-hmm.
who are 20 plus years in their business can turn around and then teach women who are just kind of getting started. So I just wrapped up a class on business financials with a
Wow.
CPA and a bookkeeper. And so we're still teaching. So 6 months later, we are still putting on somewhere between 3 and 5 Zoom workshops a week. And they've been really successful. And like I said, I credit that to the members of our organization for pitching in and helping.
Yes, and I've attended a couple of those, and with when you were talking about creating events for people that live in different areas and how there's traffic, and do you feel that having events via Zoom, do you think that will continue being as part of the business for you?
Yeah, that is my silver lining of my COVID cloud, is that we were kind of forced into embracing digital programming, virtual programming, that we might not have embraced as quickly as we did because of COVID. And so, the tribe has spoken, so to speak, and they continue to want, digital virtual programming. So even when we go back to in-person events, and we do
Hmm.
hope to get that happening sooner rather than later, because there's nothing like connecting in person that, obviously the virtual programming can't replace one-on-one or even, small group interactions with each
Hmm.
other. We need that connection as human beings, but we will keep the virtual programming, especially around classes. So I love
Hmm.
that the accessibility, like you mentioned, that was such an important part of Working Women when it started 11 years ago. And the challenges that had become more and more of a challenge because of traffic around here in Tampa. And so the digital virtual programming will be able to allow us to even have additional accessibility. So they will continue. And then we just launched a new program called our Goal Getter Success Circles. That might be the first
Yes.
time I've said that without
Uh-huh.
having a tongue twist. And so those will happen virtually. So we've got our goal is to have 10 women in 10 different groups, so 100 women total. Split up among 10 groups, and they're going to meet once a month for an hour to talk about their goals. So that's kind of
Mm.
our next step, is we realize that we're still kind of missing some of that deeper connection, and we're hoping
Mhm.
to foster that with these success circles. So we already have 3 filled, and I just announced it last
Wow.
week. So that's super exciting. But that will be something that we'll continue to do in a virtual format as well,
Mhm.
even when we go back to in-person events, which we hope is like maybe next month or so.
I hope so too. I miss
Me
seeing
too. Me too.
everybody, and I miss the event. And you actually answered the question that I was going to ask you next is how can networking groups create more interaction, to create more connection, to create more abilities for that deeper implementation, potentially, or achieving the results for businesses. So you answered that perfectly, is by creating accountability circles. So
and
with
and also like facilitating that moderating discussion. I feel like
Mhm.
that is where a networking group could probably jump in and do more too, and we could even be doing more of that, and that's where the accountability circles come in. But I think the organic format or organic flow of a regular networking event is
Mhm.
really hard to recreate in a virtual environment, and so you need
Yeah.
a moderator to be able to facilitate conversation and deeper discussion. So whether it's an accountability circle like we're trying to create, or
Right.
just moderated networking or facilitated
Mhm.
networking, I think that can be done virtually and be very effective for any organization, whether it's a chamber or leads group or so forth.
Mhm.
So just to kind of
Mhm.
further that answer, Natalia.
Thank you so much, and especially for somebody who is very shy typically at networking events,
I
it's
don't believe
usually,
that.
oh yes, you've seen me, kind of shy away in the corner, but then the group is so great that somebody would always grab me and start up a conversation. So I feel that having some sort of moderated networking events, rather than just everybody come in and have coffee and have random conversations and the connections, which might work for a lot of people, but for more people who are on the introverted side, to have some sort of moderation is certainly very helpful. So, Jessica, one last question.
Okay.
how can businesses really utilize the businesses throughout the country? How can they find that best networking group, or potentially start a networking group that really fits their business, their time, and what is the best way for them to look for the right networking group for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, it really is going to depend on where they are. In Tampa Bay, we
Mm-hmm.
are so blessed to have so many amazing networking organizations and
Mm-hmm.
chambers and leads groups. And so there's no shortage of ways to connect here in Tampa Bay. Different parts of the country or different cities across the country, might be not as blessed as we are.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter where you are, whether you're in Tampa Bay or beyond, the best thing to do is, I mean, social media and Google is your friend. So I would just start doing some research online about groups, and then I would test them. So I would go to a Rotary group, see what that's all about. Go to a chamber, see what that's all about. Go to a BNI or another leads group, because it's really going to depend on your personality,
Right.
and what you're trying to get out of a group. Like you said, for some, they might need a little bit more of that moderated, facilitated
Mm-hmm.
networking. And so a
Mm-hmm.
leads group or a BNI might be better for them. They might be a brick and mortar and want to do stuff more with a chamber. So it really kind of
Right.
depends, but I would do a lot of research online. I would go and try out almost every networking or chamber. You can go to several meetings before you have to
Mm-hmm.
commit to being a member. So I would do that. And I would write down the goals that you have for why are you networking to begin with, because we
Mm.
always joke that we like to take the work out of networking, and we have that joke internally, because networking can feel like work if you're not in the right group and it
Yeah.
doesn't feel authentic and genuine to you. And so I think it's going to come down to your personality and your goals, but don't be afraid to do your research, and don't be afraid to
Mm-hmm.
go to multiple events of the different groups that you're checking out before
Mm-hmm.
you commit. Almost all groups will allow you to attend. In the case of working women, we never make
Mm-hmm.
you become a member. You can literally come to
Mm-hmm.
as many working women events as you want without becoming an official member. You just have to pay a little bit more for the events. So you should be able to test out
Right.
which
Mm-hmm.
networking group is for you. But yes,
Amazing.
stick to your gut, right? Like if it feels good,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably good for you, and if it doesn't feel good, there's a group out there that's perfect for you.
I love this, Jessica. Thank you so much. So much great advice to stay authentic. Don't be afraid to test out different networking groups. It's okay
One
if it
minute.
doesn't fit in with your goals. It's okay. Jessica, so grateful to you for coming on the show. Where people can find you at Working Women of Tampa Bay, that's in Tampa. And thank you so much for coming on. And I would like to thank another sponsor that we have for today's show, and it is Healthy Intent. Healthy Intent inspires you to live a healthy life. It's so easy to bump health down the priority list behind the business phone calls, family commitments, and let's face it, anything else, until we are diagnosed with something that forces us to make a change. Their online Healthy Cooking Academy has incredible classes that will help you make significant progress in your kitchen, whether cooking for yourself or your family, or subscribe to Healthy Intent YouTube channel for quick tips and more fun recipes. We all want to look better, feel better, and have more energy for life and business. Start every day with Healthy Intent. Follow them at healthyintent.com. Thank you so much for listening in, tuning in. I'm so grateful. I'm Natalia Lesby. The conversation always continues on our Business Kitchen Show Facebook page. We'll see you and hear you and talk to you next week. Until then, have an amazing week.
You've been listening to the Business Kitchen Show. Tune in each week for saucy interviews with business owners and to pick up fresh ingredients for your business success. The conversation continues after each episode on the Business Kitchen Show Facebook page. For the full show menu, visit businesskitchenshow.com.